Welcome to RCS. I'm Dan.
I'm Nick.
We're recording live at Drivers Club. We're brought to you by Avance, Carter Subaru, Drivers Club, Griot's Garage, Haggerty, Rainier Beer, America's Automotive Trust, and Salvo Design.
And anything you hear today is alleged. It may or may not have happened. Just so we're clear. There's no there will be film editing, but in case you don't know, the four of us that made it on the rally this weekend, that showed up, got it on our schedules eventually, and it was shortened a little bit by the
forest fires,
which we never saw.
They were there.
They were not.
Well,
there wasn't even smoke.
We didn't go.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. So, but I left the camera on the trail side to record to see if there's any fires, so we're good.
Yeah, it was more of a dust storm than a firestorm over there.
Oh God, I'm still coughing up dirt. So
us open face riders, man. Yeah.
You were out front. No, the three of us don't believe you. It's like we'd get someplace and Dan's bike would be like clean, and the rest of us are like.
I put so much Griot's ceramic 3-in-1 on that thing that I just hosed it off and it was clean.
Yeah.
Everybody was like, "Did you take your bike on the rally? It's so clean." So it was a Dirtfish for the rallycross weekend, and they were like, "This is the same bike you took on the rally?" I was like, "Yeah, stuff works."
So if you don't know, to give you a little bit, we decided probably at the beginning of the year we were going to take brand new Honda Monkeys, modify them to our own liking, and then do what was supposed to be a 3 or 4 day.
4 days of riding.
4 days of riding, starting in Canada, going all the way to Oregon. We talked about it a lot. Well, we tried.
We tried. And
we definitely tried, yeah.
The day before we left, they closed sections 1 and 2 and 5 and 6, basically. They were on DNR land or Forest Service land. And DNR land, yeah. And so they said no recreational activities east of the Cascades, literally, because it had been too dry. And, it was really dry. Places that normally were giant ruts that were full of mud were just dust. Thick,
like the lightest
dust.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't sand. It was the lightest,
silt.
Yeah, it was like the consistency of baking flour. Yes. It was awful. And that stuff got everywhere. But we made it, and the bikes, honestly, surprisingly easy.
One issue that we caused.
Yeah. The only real issue we had was my bike. One of the clutch springs came out of alignment because I don't think it was ever installed totally right. It was really close, but I think that was just enough to cause some rubbing on the clutch. The bike actually probably would have made it just fine. It should have been uncomfortable to stop on with rubbing there, but that was really the only actual issue we had, and it wasn't caused by Honda.
No.
And my rear rack broke.
Everything else was aftermarket.
Yeah, it was all just aftermarket stuff. But the bike itself, I had stock front suspension, which I bottomed out relentlessly over and over and over again.
You wish you would have put the other ones in.
I had extreme front suspension that blew out. One strut that blew. But no, we lost you lost your rack and you lost your skid plate, right?
Yep.
But, you lost your skid plate in a pretty good way in the fact that you bashed it off the bike.
Absolutely did its job.
So
I lost one side pack, but it was getting caught in the spring, and it wasn't completely failed, but it was tearing out the bottom, and if we hadn't taken it off when we did, it definitely would have ripped and stuff would have started falling out.
Yeah.
So.
And I lost
all that was aftermarket.
A GoPro Hero 7 on a suction cup mount somewhere, I think, section 4.
In the jungle.
In the jungle.
No, we know we know it's after the jungle because
just after the jungle.
We looked at his 3D60. Yeah.
All right, well, let's rewind a little bit. Okay. We have our Carter Subaru tip of the week, but it was inspired by our little ride and dust because there was a massive dust storm down in Arizona, which caused a huge pileup accident and killed some people, actually.
Jeez.
So dust storms are a thing people haven't had to think about for a while. They're pretty common in the Midwest. Not to say common, but they happen more there. But now we're seeing them more and more because things have been so dry forever. And man, did we ride through some dust. So I got Kansas, of all places, Highway Patrol actually has some tips on driving in the dust. And if you're down in the south in Arizona, this is going to be a thing for you. Even up here at some point, I believe in eastern Washington, you might run into this. This also something that comes hand in hand with dust storms is tumbleweeds, which we were seeing more and more of on the east side of the state. And I've seen people do some pretty stupid stuff because they assume it's a rolling brick when it's just a pile of sticks. You can hit a pile of sticks. It's softer than the semi coming at you, just so you know. I'd say that should be an obvious thing, but people are really dumb. So,
my honest reaction right off the bat is dust storm, pull over to the side of the road. But you're probably more of a target on the side of the road than anything.
So, obviously, step number one is avoid driving them in them at all possible.
Hashtag don't.
Some people just go for it, and I'll never understand that. But a dust storm, one, is terrible for your car. And we'll get into that in a second. But it's also, you can't see through it. It's thicker than fog. if you're driving through there, getting towards it, even close to it, make sure your headlights and taillights are on. Turn on your lights immediately. Don't wait until poor visibility to pull over. If you can, not only pull over, leave the road. Don't get on the shoulder. If you can get off the shoulder entirely. Get off the roadway as a whole. But if you can, go to a parking lot. Even if you can't find overhead cover, just get off of a moving roadway because people can't see you. And when I say can't see you, I mean like they can't see like a foot past their bumper. So think about that. Let's see. If you're going to, when you find a place to park, keep your lights on if you can, but turn off your car. Super important you turn off your car because all your systems are running and engines work on 4 cycles. Suck, squish, bang, blow. And suck and squish don't work real well with sand in there. In fact, they tend to inhibit bang and blow.
Suck, sand, you're done.
Yeah, exactly. And so as good as your air filter might be, it may stop it for a while, but it's that fine silt sand like we're talking about go right through most of our air filters. And if you have an aftermarket intake, you've just created a beautiful little vacuum of death for your motor.
I feel judgment.
Right, a little bit.
A lot of judgment, yeah. But I feel that most of the time from all 3 of you, so it's nothing.
If you have to pull over on the road on the shoulder, don't ever stop on the roadway. Like I said, make sure you set your e-brake and take your foot off the brake. I think basically what they're telling you is prepare to be rear-ended. And there's certain steps you do in a car to do that. If you're stopped and you see somebody barreling and you have nowhere to go, you set the e-brake and you just stop. Take your foot off the gas. That's the best you can do. And then make sure you leave your seatbelt on. That's a common thing people mistake when they get off the side of the road, fog, ice, whatever, is they take their seatbelt off. Well, that's not going to help you very much if you get rear-ended really hard.
Just get out of the car. You'll be fine.
Yeah. So, and
good for the skin.
Of course, call for help. If you're out there, let somebody know where you're at. Broadcast your position. If hopefully you have somebody like following you on Apple Maps or Google Maps or somebody, that's like just a good practice to have in general is to share your location with somebody you trust. But that's another thing you should be aware of so they know where you're at.
Where'd that happen in Arizona? I didn't actually hear about that.
I'm not sure. I saw it on the news the other day. I was really surprised. But yeah, it's so dry down there and everywhere right now that, dust storms are becoming a thing.
Well, imagine with all the smoke in the air, too, from all the forest fires going on. Like, it feels like that would just compound.
Yeah.
Dust storm plus smoke plus, like, it's just visibility is terrible.
Oh, yeah. And I mentioned it earlier, and it's in here. If tumbleweeds come with that, obviously dust storms follow a bunch of wind. Hit them. You can hit tumbleweeds. Even if they're like the size of your car, you can still hit them. They are far softer than anything else to hit. I mean, obviously, you want to avoid things with slamming on the brakes, getting rear-ended, or going to their lane. It's just a bad decision. You can hit tumbleweeds. They may look big and scary, but
it's a giant dandelion.
Yeah, I've hit 100 with a Land Cruiser, and they just go poof. Yeah, a little scratchy, but
Mad Max flamethrowers on the front, just
right. Yeah. So with us this week we have Branden Ben Powell. Have a shot.
Branden Ben Powell.
I have 2 more shots.
Branden Ben Powell. Yeah.
And Brian Elich. They went in with us on the rally, and they've been on the show before, of course. Your car guy, Brian Elich.
Your car guy.
And yeah, we made it 250 miles. We started in Ellensburg, Ellensburg. Yeah, we started in Ellensburg. We rode up to Kashmir. That was actually really short. I was far really shorter than I thought. Yeah, and I've done that route, but I was like, man, that was way shorter than I remember.
Well, I think we were going a lot faster than we thought. Like, I mean,
a
lot of those roads, especially like when we took off from when we started, like that gravel went a long way, or not gravel, but the pavement went a long way up.
They changed that recently.
Did they?
I was talking to Kyle, and he said that they recently paved a lot more of that than had originally been.
Yeah, because up top it was a lot nicer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When we first got off the pavement, it was rough. Some people were going a little fast onto the dirt. Brian Elich.
We were going normal speed.
No,
we were going faster than we
were going normal speed. You
were riding wheelies.
Yeah.
we learned the limit of the carriers.
One less tire on the gravel.
Honest
one
answer.
Less likelihood of
How many
slipping.
times were you doing wheelies where you almost went off the side of it?
Every time I was doing it. I'm not good at them.
That's fair. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
Every time I tried to bring it up, it either only went up 1 inch or way too high.
Your best one was in downtown Chelan. I'll be honest.
That was
coming back from the car wash. There was a pucker factor there a little bit. Yeah, so.
Right through the light.
Yeah,
allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly, somebody on a monkey was doing wheelies in Chelan. It's so weird.
Exactly. So,
it wasn't us. We wouldn't do that.
No, but I mean that first day was. I mean, there was a lot of like teeth shattering. Because the first days when we went through not the landslide, but what was it called?
Well, I mean, we went through a landslide. We went through the burnt forest, then we went through the mudslide, the washout.
That's what it was. The washout was the name.
Beehive washout.
Yeah, Beehive washout, which is actually
that was my favorite part of the trip.
That was fun.
That was my favorite part of the trip.
I knew it was coming, and we went through it. And I was just like, oh, this is great, just hopping over the tops. It was so fun.
I thought that was a lot easier.
It would have been very different on a big bike.
That's what
or a vehicle.
Yeah, vehicle, it would have been challenging. I feel like the monkeys in that area, it seemed very wide and open. Yeah. And it was like, we're blowing through this.
Shout out to our two follow vehicles that day, by the way. Speaking of big vehicles going through there.
Yeah. Ryan Rickert in his Toyota.
And then
level 10, Donovan in his Dodge 2500.
That's a big truck.
He
threw that
truck.
He used that truck both days. I mean, there are times when we stopped on the bikes and I was like, "Oh, it's going to be a minute before he gets here." And he came flying down the trail. I'm like, "Oh, okay." Yeah.
That guy knows how to wheel.
Yeah.
It was super fun.
That was the day where you went up that steep incline, parked up on that hill in the shade.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, there he is." And then Ryan came up and went straight up the same thing. I was like, "Oh, there he is."
Parked up there. I mean, some of the views we had were just incredible.
Those views never got old. That was the best part of that. I mean, those bikes, you can appreciate it a little bit more, I guess. I don't know. I felt like I could just enjoy the view a little more.
Oh, again, Dan was out front the whole time. No dust, no smoke. And then also, I couldn't because I was so worried about falling, which I did once, like the second day.
I have it on video, by the way.
Did you get it on video?
Great. I have it on video, too.
It's kind of weird because the dust we're talking about is so bad that
it
all of a sudden,
me?
you see you two in front of me, and then all of a sudden just a cloud, and then all of a sudden you see you standing up and picking up your bike. And I was like, ooh, that actually looks kind of cool.
It wasn't. It was an uphill about 7 miles an hour. I came into a rut, and it's one of those ruts that had it been a little bit of moisture would have been fine.
It would have been
but
perfect,
it was probably 6 inches of just that silt, and it took my wheel and just cranked it to the left, and I went down.
Yeah. So. Well, the problem was that we had these big rocky sections, and they would kick your wheels a little to the left and a little to the right, and that was fine. But you'd come out of those, immediately transition to the deep silt stuff, and if you'd been kicked a little bit sideways and you hit that, and it happened to me twice. The first time I went down, very similar to the way you did. The second time, it kind of just laid down between my legs, and I just sort of stood there. I'm like, oh, picked the bike back up and kept going.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Like, it's literally you hit the rock, it would kick you a little sideways, and you come out onto the silt, and then down you go.
Well, in those ruts, I mean, the 44s had to have made them. They were huge, and the bikes were getting swallowed. And then
you
to have 6 or 8 inches of silt at the bottom. You were not getting out. So, and you're going uphill, following someone else's dust storm, and the next thing you know, your bike's doing whatever it wants to do.
I was laughing after the first day because I realized that I was intentionally riding terribly to get traction and move that bike around because it's everything opposite of what you think. A big bike, you stand up, you kind of keep your weight balanced, and you're riding the front wheel, letting the rear wheel just kind of keep up. These bikes don't have power, and you need traction, so I'm like sitting as far back on the seat as I can.
While just keeping the front end up.
Yeah, while keeping the front end up, and like just kind of like steering it with my butt, which is just...
Come on, let's be honest. It's because you didn't have good shocks.
It was because I had terrible shocks in the front. And then
you compensated really well for that.
I did.
I mean, you really did. Yeah.
And I'm riding on the balls of my feet instead of the center of my feet, trying to like hold the case. But if I didn't have enough suspension in the rear either. So I'm using my legs as suspension. My knees are still sore, by the way, from just like holding onto the bike and using my legs as in addition to the suspension of the bike because the front end would collapse. So I'd intentionally kind of bounce it just a little bit to get the front end up over big stuff and then let my legs take the abuse.
I was laughing because I had this image while we were riding, like we were badass. We were out there riding in the dirt. And then I watched your video, and it looks like a bunch of Oompa Loompas that are going home from work at the Jelly. Like, we're really big on these bikes. Like, you don't realize it. Like, every once in a while when I drive by a window, I'll see it. But, like, Monkeys I was watching the video, and I'm like, I can barely see the bike. Like, I can see me, but where's the bike?
Well, that made it more challenging, though, right? Because the tires are smaller than some of the rocks we were trying to go around or over.
Yes.
Like... We said it. If you're going to get in a bad position, just stop and you put your feet on the ground because you probably could stop yourself from falling.
Yeah. Oh, I did many times.
So like that first, we started in Ellensburg. We ended up in Kashmir, and then we basically
took 97 north.
Took 97, which was... I never want to do again on a monkey. Like
big trucks that go by.
Big trucks going by. One, our bikes don't do 50 or 60, and then Branden, Ben Powell, and I have the same Yoshimura exhaust, and we'd get next to each other. Wah, 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 wah. It was just like, oscillating. Oh my God, I want to get off this bike.
Well, what was crazy is we drove all day up in the mountains, and we all went down like 1 bar of fuel. And then we drove 30 minutes on the highway, and all of us went down 7. Oh, yeah. It was like, goodbye,
Not real fuel efficient at 60 miles an hour. Yeah.
No, and I was...
They're pegged.
Yeah, so they're 4-speed transmissions, and we are all 4th gear pinned the entire way, like it's 100%, and then I'm...
Every once in a while pulling over so cars can go by.
Yeah, and if you're so big on those bikes that if you like lean back, you drop like 5 miles an hour.
100%. It was amazing to lean forward, and you felt like an idiot, like you felt like you're trying to show off or something. But if you leaned over, you would pick up 5, 6, 7, 8 miles an hour pretty easily.
I almost stopped to take the visor off my helmet because every time I'd bring my helmet up, the visor would catch wind and my head would go. But yeah, you guys both had open face helmets. I mean, minus the fact that you wouldn't actually get your microphone inside your mouth. We could hear you, not the wind miss. I mean, I think that was the fun part. Is we had the Sena communication devices, which we'll say we figured out how to use now.
There were challenges.
We were having some update issues, but the best part was you'd be in your helmet and you're trying to think like, okay, what sound is that, and where is it coming from? Is it coming from Dan's bike, or is it coming from your
bike, or Nick's bike,
or is it happening to me and I'm just hearing it like rattling through my microphone? But that was fun. The banter, unfortunately, I don't think we captured it, but it was pretty good.
It's probably best that it wasn't because there was definitely some colorful moments, but.
Okay, and I have to say this, and even though it was an insult to me, you will know the phrase. I don't remember what it was. We were all just talking massive crap, and the gist is Branden Powell stops and goes, "Do you hear the things you say in your head before you say them?" And I was like, "Oh,
does it sound more intelligent in your head before it comes out of your mouth?"
And I was like, "Oh, that hurts."
Once it actually comes across the lips, it's something different.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was absolutely hilarious, but I was like, okay, fine. That's how it is. Yeah.
Let's take our first break. We'll talk more about our bad decisions when we get back.
We spend an average of 8 hours and 41 minutes a day facing screens. Laptops, smartphones, tablets, even digital refrigerators. But what are we really connected to? Isn't it time you connected to something greater? Sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect. This moment of escape was created by Haggerty for people who love cars.
And we're back. What did you guys, starting with you, Brian, what did you think, what was the most surprising thing for you on this ride? Like what happened that you expected or that you didn't expect?
I think you guys have got me, you had me hyped up that we were just going to never make this happen without breakdowns. And these bikes took a beating, and they did not fail. I mean, you guys were saying I'm doing wheelies. I was driving that bike as fun as I could, and did not have one issue with it. I was blown away. I was like, it almost made me want to keep it.
When you stopped that one time, and the Dodge was airing down, and we're all like, "Oh, dude, you got a flat tire," which it really sounded like that. Yeah,
it totally did.
You know?
I agree with you though. Yeah. I did. I expected massive breakdowns. I expected us on the side of the road. Changing tires, at least.
I expected one of us would at least one of us would get a flat or bend a rim. Yeah. Not to the point where we would get stuck, but it would be like a problem. And I expected a clutch to go out entirely. Mm-hmm. Our only failure was like our install on that spring. And I expected my front springs. I expected to blow my fork seals entirely.
Which is ironic.
The whole trip, I thought my fork seals were going to be blown because I heard that suspension hit metal on metal 100 times a day. And not once.
It was more like 100 times an hour.
Yeah.
I could hear it from my bike.
I was going to say, we heard it and we weren't on it.
Yeah, it's like bam, bam. And it's unsettling because you feel it all the way through the bars into your shoulders. It's just like the suspension fully compresses and it's metal hitting metal. And it still, like now, works just as good as it did when I got the bike.
Well, I think the other thing that, I was unexpected is, all four of us, we know each other, but you don't know each other when you're doing something so drastic none of us have ever done. And like you said, even though we had communication issues, once we got it rolling, we were all just having too much fun. Like, I knew it was going to be fun. I didn't know it was going to be that much fun.
Yeah.
So
I will say, I don't know that I expected failures. I think for me, the thought process was always very much around what kinds of failures would cause us to not be able to finish. And how do we make sure that we're prepared so that if that kind of failure happened, we could keep going? Because that was my biggest fear, was something happening to a point where we couldn't continue, because I really wanted to see this thing through to the end. And so I wanted to just make sure that we had the provision, the capability, the tools, the spares, so that if something happened...
You made sure, because you had Donovan with a full-size truck and enough to rebuild the bike minus the frame with us. So,
yeah,
that's true. What surprised you the most on the trip?
I think
besides that last turn,
we'll talk about the crash later.
No, I'm not bringing it up. I'm just saying,
he's still trying to figure it out.
That definitely surprised me. But I think just the amount of fun. Like, I think, my role is program management. That's what I do for a living. And so thinking through the risk mitigations and management and time and schedule and, route and all those, I think I got so turned up in my own head around just the program management of it I didn't get to stop and really think about how much fun it was going to be. And so I think getting to the end of it and looking back, and it's like, holy crap, that was fun. Like the amount of fun we had. I mean, every time you ride the Monkey, and people always ask about this, you know, if you have more than one bike, and like it's miles per hour, like it's so much fun. And just doing that, but in a setting that it was never really designed for, it was magic. Yeah. Like, if you ever get the opportunity to do something like this, and hopefully that will come up, like, go do it. Don't hesitate.
Don't do it. Run.
Go do it. 100% go do it.
Yeah.
Do it, because it is a ton of fun. And if you can do it with people like this, and, you know, I kind of mentioned these guys, and we'll talk about the crash again later, and about my wife, and kind of I was worried about how she would react, because she never wanted me to have a street bike. I had the same Ninja that Tom Cruise rode.
Technically, you still don't have a street bike, so we're
fair enough. Yeah. And I had that bike when we got married, and she's like, I will never be one of those wives who tells you what to do, what not to do, what to buy, what not to buy, but riding on the road makes me uncomfortable. And so I was kind of worried.
Yeah.
And so I went back, and she's like, man, if you can do the kinds of things you did with people who having fun, with people who are fun, like, I would never, ever take that from you. And it was a ton of fun. Like, that's the thing that's probably just the amount of fun we had in such a short period of time. I agree. I wish it could have gone longer. I wish we'd have done the full 4 days.
Me too. Nick,
it's going to happen. I was going to pose the question to you.
Oh, boy, that's a tough one.
I know they took all the good answers.
Well, I mean, yeah, I was shocked at how well the bikes did. I knew mine would make it just because I've ridden Hondas my whole life, especially my little Honda 50. That thing got beat so many times, and I just, you know, kick it 30 times. Eventually it would start up again and go. And then, the amount of fun. I think I was surprised at actually how easy it was. And I don't mean that in a, like, none of us had any riding skill kind of way. In the fact that it was like, this was so doable. Far much more than I expected. We used less fuel than I expected. We crashed less than I expected. And I don't mean like hard crashes. I didn't expect anybody to get in like a major crash or major accident, but I expected more fallovers and more delays and things like that. But it was really like we took a pretty easy pace, I think. I wouldn't say easy, but I'd say we
cruising.
We were hauling butt.
But you never stayed on the bike so long that you were unenergized to continue going and have a fault. Like,
at no point. It was
really
like,
did about an hour and
I'm exhausted. It was like, no, I can keep going another 3-4 hours. This is great.
And there's too many good views to not stay like.
There was still some pain when you got
see.
back on the bike. I'm not going to lie. There was some inner thigh. Yeah.
But you all know that you've been doing it too long, and now it's miserable. We never had that. It was like, this view is stopped. We just have to stop and see this. And then it was like, okay, you're right. You get back on the bike, you're like, okay, I got to go another. We never went long enough again to like hurt something.
I had to keep reminding myself. I told you guys, like, and Saturday my hands were like this. Like, I was gripping so hard. Like going through some of those sections, trying to control the bike.
I said that a few times on the radio. I was like, loosen up your hands, guys.
That was good.
I was like, I know this feeling. I know what people are doing because I'm like, I'm doing that thing again.
Yeah, you get that arm pump. And
it's a lot of fun. Yeah. I mean, you guys took, the amount of fun we had. I obviously was saying it, I was joking, and I kind of meant it. I didn't think we were going to come back, but I really thought we were going to have a ton of breakdowns. I didn't have a lot of faith in the bike. And when I look back at, and Dan talked about it, we all talked about it, I think maybe at breakfast or something, how that bike is tested, and the fact that it's run through monsoons, and it's built for an initial environment over at the Monkey Cafe that you found in Thailand.
Yeah, it's built for Thailand.
These bikes are ridden off road there. They're on street tires. They're beat up there. And Honda builds them to be long lasting because there's a lot of people that buy these things that it's their family car.
Yeah,
and they're running around on
You're
it.
You're not kidding over there. Yeah. I've seen 3-up on them over there. They don't even have rear pegs, but you'll see it over there all the time.
So the reliability I thought was going to be an issue, and I was pleasantly surprised, obviously. I thought we were going to be spending a lot more time, which I thought would still be fun, because, that's the most that we talked about on our meetings was like, okay, we need a tarp, because if something breaks down, we're going to have to be able to see if it falls off the bike.
Did use it.
No, I know we did.
Used the tarp.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Thanks, Harbor Freight.
We had 8 gallons of extra fuel in the truck, and we stopped to refuel it one time, a couple of gallons.
Which we wouldn't have had to had we not known that we had it.
Yeah.
Because we could have filled up midway
absolutely
or something.
We wouldn't have had to do it.
We would have been fine.
Because we went from Ellensburg to Kashmir, and all 4 bikes took 2.5 gallons total, like between all 4 bikes.
I think we probably used... I think, honestly, maybe $20 worth of fuel. Super unleaded.
I estimated 3 to 3.5 gallons total for the whole trip.
Yeah. So that was... I don't know if there's any cheaper fun you can have. The hotel in Chelan was expensive, and that was it.
Yeah,
other than that, I think if you had to camp, Like, if you could have done that, and this trip would have probably cost us $50.
I was really happy to shower, though.
Oh, God, yeah, I'm so glad to have a shower.
And a warm.
Three of them.
That brings up a good point in the fact that I wonder how these bikes would do with fully loaded down with gear. I mean, I know they'd still do it, but I'm saying I don't know if there would be, like, there were sections, and we've talked about it, we were doing 30, 35 miles an hour off-road.
But I think we learned a lot there because I would change. I know I set my bike up to take all my gear. I was originally thinking we'd take a tent, we'd take, right? And then I was like, no, we're going to have this hotels. And so I was like, I changed again. I would change it even again now that we've done it, and what you take, where you put it, how you put it on the bike. And you could take way more stuff, but you're taking only what you need.
I was waiting for your fuel bottle under your wheel to like spring a leak and then be like
happy
fire coming out the back of that bike.
We didn't need it, but
yeah.
It was mounted great. It worked out well.
Yeah. I think it was totally doable. I think if you had the aftermarket suspension like we had, and you set it to the right setting, and we put extra gear in it, I think it absolutely would have been doable.
Yeah. So free plug for Two Wheel Dyno Works. There's who did yours, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's who I'm going to go back to as well. Donovan did yours. Yours held up fine too.
Yep.
I'm going to go back to them because it's hard to find a good suspension tuner, and I say that's probably the biggest thing these bikes need. Other than that, I think you could probably do it bone stock. The clutch probably would be shot on a bone stock clutch, but I don't think I think the pressure plate and the springs is probably enough to get you through.
That's all I did. I didn't do clutch plates.
I don't think anybody burned a clutch. I don't remember.
We didn't. I was the only one that had an aftermarket clutch, though.
Yeah.
But I'm saying I don't remember any of us going, I burned my clutch or ever.
So, yeah, as far as mods, I think just suspension and some clutch springs and a pressure plate.
I think
you'd be it. That's really like the only things I would say are probably required.
Had to have.
I don't even know that you'd have to have the clutch springs. I know that it would make
you just smoke it by the end,
but even just your feel, like upgrading those and having a little bit stiffer, because it's so easy when it's brand new. It was like, because I think mine were like 60% better, right? Stiffer. Yeah. And now I have something there to grab. I think at least for me, I was changing gears so much going up those hills because I didn't do a sprocket down.
Oh, there's one thing that was, you didn't, not required, but that was a huge help.
Yeah.
Doing the one down
sprocket. For those of you, all three of you that did it, right? There was plenty of sections that were a good upgrade hill, and you could ride second out the whole ride, and I would go
up and down. I
had to, because it was revving out first, and then I had to go to second, and then as it would bog down, I'd have to go back, and so I'm glad I definitely did the
Speaking of which,
clutch,
I had no idea. Like speaking of abuse the bike took, and I was glad I changed my oil, but I don't think it was necessary. I did it because we changed the clutch parts out, but. That bike revs like crazy.
It
does. Like I rev that thing high and hot all day.
Yeah,
and I'm 220 pounds right now. And
I think they said 11,000 RPMs or something on that bike.
That thing was revving to the moon all day for all of us, and it never skipped a beat. Like at no point did I get there was a couple times when we got
ours overheated. Branden and I's.
Yeah,
technically
not overheated.
Compared to our
gauge said that it was hot.
We got to 270.
Going up the jungle, which by the way, anybody who knows the Washington Backcountry Discovery route, the WABDR, knows that is a difficult section. It was truly difficult.
It was the hardest.
It was by far the hardest, but it was fun. I loved the challenge of it. It was just like bouncing up that hill. Yeah, that was
passing you on that corner was one of the funniest things because we were both trying to get up here and like what you don't realize is so Dan was leading and Dan was sort of
Dan
like
was gone.
But he was like our nav monkey. He'd be like, okay guys, there's a bump on the left, and Branden and I came into this corner and Branden went high and he saw me and it was just this competition kicks in. Brian and I had it. Everybody had it. Like you'd get next to somebody and like the road would be nice and all of a sudden you're going a little faster. Going through that corner was so nice. I will say the one thing that I wish I had done, and I mean we'll do is the power upgrades you guys did, and the fact that you had your GoPros powered, you had your phones powered, things like that.
Made a big difference.
Huge shout out to
Quad lock.
Oh yeah,
and the quad lock system, incredible.
Yeah.
Yep.
All of our phones would be fried if we didn't have the quad lock and the anti vibration settings.
Yep, and that thing quad lock was They didn't pay us for anything, and they didn't give us anything for free, but they earned their money I gave them. That is for sure, because I had my iPhone on the entire time, plugged in and charging, running the mapping system for OnX, and like the whole trip.
Our one downfall with the mapping system was the fact that our phones were overheating from being on the bike. That's it.
Yeah, it was too hot up there. It was like, it was probably good 80, 85.
And they were directly in the sun.
That
powered.
So they didn't turn off. They just dimmed the screen. And I couldn't see the screen, but luckily it's, once you take a minute, you can find yourself pretty easy with the maps. But I was full charge the whole time, covered in dust, beating the crap out of the phone, but plugged in the entire time and powered my GoPro the entire time.
Invisible and usable, and it was pretty fantastic.
It worked really well. I'm still surprised. And really, we're really not that beat up.
No.
Minus all the bug bikes. Well, I'm saying from the WABDR, like I've got cuts and scrapes, and I think I collected more bugs in my knee guards than anybody. I got
on my teeth.
6 grasshoppers, 3 bees. So I don't know how I didn't get stung, but it was.
You didn't swallow as many as Dan did.
I swallowed a lot of bugs.
I had a face mask, so yeah.
Had a bee hit me right in the lip, like 5 minutes into the ride.
Maybe 5 minutes. Yeah,
I'm just like. Oh, I'm not allergic, but man, it hurt like a mother.
We were all betting on it though. If Dan started slurring his face and going
we were kind of hoping.
Weaving
off the
road, yeah. So it was a lot of fun. I mean, I cannot wait to do.
I've done a lot of driving kinds of things. This will sit at the top of that list probably forever. I don't know how we'll top this.
Doing it again?
We'll go again.
We'll definitely do it again. I'm going
Says
again.
the one guy that sold his bike.
Well, I mean, you could buy another one.
No,
you already said that maybe next time you will include other bikes.
Well,
maybe a Grom needs to be in that mix.
Oh, I think a Grom. I think a Grom would be great.
It just look awesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
you can definitely build them that way.
Well, we talked about it earlier. How would you bring all your gear? I'm looking at that bike. That would be the challenge on a Grom.
Yeah,
because I think the Grom could mod it easier and have more fun with it, just based on how it looks and rides, but. Taking stuff with you would be hard.
A big camping backpack and just go like.
You could do if you did it right, minus the bike replacement parts for the bike, which really aren't that. Knowing what I know now, I think I would carry a plug kit, not even bother with spare tires, and I would probably carry just a master link, a couple of clutch parts, and the heaviest thing would be a quart of oil.
Well, I think Brandon's toolkit, that one he rolled out when I needed to clean my air filter.
That was nice, yeah.
Now you guys were smart, put pre-filters on. I decided not to, but we got halfway through it and was like, I need to dust this thing off. It sounds bad.
Pre-filter worked, but I wouldn't say it was like the end all.
It was easier to clean than mine was.
It was quite a bit better. Like I was cleaning mine after Brian was cleaning his. I was looking at them side by side, and the pre-filter kept a lot of
outerwears is not a joke. They're really good stuff. There's just only so much you can do for silt.
Well, and the way his face directly forward. Ours are sideways too, a little bit better. But
I wonder if you could build a. You could easily fabricate out of some sheet aluminum a guard right in front just to block. You would probably lose 1% of performance because it's open air still, but it would block the dirt from the front.
That's a lot on a monkey.
You would
put your oil cooler right there if you did an oil cooler.
Fill that with dust.
I'll be honest. I think oil coolers that where they're placed on monkeys, we would have beat the crap out of them.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Because you would have just shot rocks at it.
You would have shot rocks at it, first of all. And two, the wheel articulation coming up and down. I mean, I had one on my monkey, and that's what happened. Coming into my parking garage, it bottomed out and hit it. So it was installed right, too, just so we're clear.
The cafe racer.
Yes.
It was right there with you.
Yeah, no, it did. Yeah, it absolutely did great. Like I said, all these bikes just took a beating.
I accidentally built a cafe racer. I kept looking at cafe racers and accidentally built one. I was like, and Branden built an off-road bike. We all said that. Like, you built the $1 Million Monkey, we joke, and then I built the cafe racer.
Oh, and I was in between.
You built the dad bike.
You could take it off-road. You could ride it in the city. And then Dan was like, I have all this stuff. I just haven't put it on the bike yet.
I kept mine in stock as long as possible because I expected more damage.
Yeah.
And it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
I think the diversity of builds was actually very cool, and the fact that all of them performed. I think a testament to the Honda Monkey platform that you could do so many diverse things.
If I could change one of our bikes, though, I would put mirrors on Nick's bike because know how many times Nick was like, no idea somebody's coming up behind him. Nick's had no idea somebody's going around him. Nick's like, I went through that corner, but I can't see nothing.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, maybe that's a challenge we'll do on the next one is somebody will take a totally bone stock monkey. And we'll see how it does. I mean,
I think it'll do just fine.
Suspension would be. I mean, it's going to have to be a light.
Depends on the weight of the person.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a lightweight person. But maybe we just change the suspension. But I think I'd be curious to see with a stock clutch, stock drivetrain, everything.
Yeah. Previous guest Linnea, she's racing bicycles, and she was like, "I am so jealous. I so want to do that." I said, "You'd be the perfect one to do it." It's like somebody who knows how to ride and is the small enough to ride a stock bike. I can convince her to do that.
Yeah. She'd figure out a way to just pedal it to the top and be faster than all of us.
We'll go talk to the guys at Fluid Ride and be like, all right, we got an idea.
Here we go.
We've seen one of those guys on the trail. I think that was one of the most surprising. Some guy on a mountain bike just pedaling up with a backpack on.
He was a ways up there.
He was moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, we passed some guy in the middle of nowhere, back to Discovery Route. It's 90 degrees out above Chelan, and there's some guy on a pedal bike. It's like humming along up the mountain. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
We only saw one group of cars, like 5 cars and 1 bike. That was it. On the
Africa
switch
Twin.
box. Yeah.
Really nice Africa Twin, too. Yeah.
That was, I mean, it was incredible. Like the times you could kind of pause and look out and see the environment you were going by. And, I mean, you don't realize the altitude you're at. And that's another thing. Those bikes did really good at altitude.
Yeah, they were 5,000 feet a few times.
They didn't skip a beat going up or down.
No.
My ears popped a bunch, but
yeah.
I'd get down. I'd be like, I can't hear anything. I'd yawn. I'm like, oh.
Oh, you know another thing I would do? Just a cheap set of bark busters. Nothing special. Just plastic deflector ones. Not the kind that connect on the side, but just deflector bark busters. Because there's so many times my gloves took the abuse.
Yeah, I had no gloves, and I got a couple of scrapes.
You're not wearing gloves?
No.
Or long
I didn't
pants.
know that. Well, I mean, I knew the pants. I was there with you on that one.
Brian's just a glutton for punishment.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. If you wheelie, your tire takes everything.
Yeah. Right. Hey, I was the only one with a full face helmet, though. So,
I think we should all apologize to the housekeeping that had to clean up the bathrooms. Man. I took a shower and I washed myself 3 times in the shower and got out. And still dirt coming out.
Well,
my
and
face.
that shower curtain, just grabbing it, moving it, it was done.
Yeah.
Yeah, my beard I don't even have much of a beard. Not like I to Nick. And there was so much dirt. I was just like, how? I was like,
dirt,
open
sunscreen,
face.
Tears. What else?
So listeners, if you're ever in Chelan, please stay at Lakeside Lodge and Suites and get them some extra revenue to offset what we cost them.
In cleaning,
When you check in, though, don't forget to wear your band. It's very important to wear your band around. Yeah.
I remember to wear mine. I totally remember. I put it on this morning.
You did.
Speaking of that, that's one thing I learned on this trip is Nick is not patient.
No.
Oh, I had a meltdown. Absolutely.
A couple of them.
I stayed upright on my bike the whole time.
Ish.
Yeah, I had a meltdown. We were getting. I was over it.
He just wanted to get into his hotel and take a shower.
He was right. He's like, we're going to park all 4 bikes in the same stall.
She just didn't
if
get
we
it.
have one ticket on one bike, it should count for that stall. And she was like, no, everybody has to have a ticket. And you're like,
and just so we're clear, the bikes were parked right out the door from you could see them.
Yeah,
I was like,
and she was like, "There's no way a motorcycle fits multiple motorcycles in a stall." And he's like, "No, we're going to put them all in there." I have a really good picture.
Imagine tricycles. These are tricycles with motors.
So many people came by. Like I had a Honda 50. I used to ride that as a kid. Like that was
little kids walking by. That's my size.
That little guy coming by. My favorite color is red. I love your bike. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I wish I had done differently for sure. I wish I had bought a proper ADV helmet. The whole time, there's a reason an ADV helmet exists, and that is the perfect scenario for one. The Arai XD4, even though it doesn't have a good anti-fog shield, would have been the helmet for this, hands down. The climb is a little too loud, but any proper ADV helmet with a pull-down chin bar. If you've ever seen those, a lot of people don't even know they have one. But if you have an Arai, you have a little pull-down chin thing that covers your chin and goes around your neck. And it deflects all that dust from coming up and in to around. Yeah. It makes a huge difference.
I have one.
Oh, you have one?
I do. I didn't wear it.
Shauna has one. I got it. It's like, this is the one you want. And it works great. And I really wish I had spent the money on that. I got the helmet I wanted instead of the helmet I should have. And
both of you looked fabulous.
I know. That was the thing is like, this helmet looks really good. It's completely impractical. It's the wrong helmet.
Yeah.
But it looks so good.
And your goggles. Your steampunk goggles. Oh,
so I had an Arai helmet, but it was an open face. And they don't have, it was actually really, really comfortable to wear all day. I didn't mind wearing it at all. It's very light. It's balanced. It was great. And I had 100% goggles. Really nice ones. Thank God. And this should be another tip. If you're riding a bunch in mixed conditions where there's a lot of shade and a lot of sun, the right lens you want is an amber lens, not a dark gray lens, not a smoke lens, because then you'll get blind in the shadows. But it's called transition lens for snow. For anybody who's just
I have one of those too.
Snowmobiling or snowboarding or skiing knows what a transition lens is. This is a transition lens. That is the perfect lens for this. And those goggles were awesome because I didn't have any dust in my eyes. I had a lot of dust around my face. You had every time you took off your helmet.
Oh, that's because the $13 steampunk Amazon special goggles I bought looked fantastic, but they didn't actually touch my face.
Did they steam up?
Yes, they steamed up. They let dust all the way around. They looked amazing. They were horribly impractical.
So I went for like the top shelf, top of the line goggles. I'm like, if I'm wearing these all day, I want like the triple layer foam. I want the no fog, and they worked awesome. I was so glad I had them all day, but I kept breathing in dust every time.
we're going to be I've been coughing for the last 2 days.
Nick's got the black lung over
Pretty
there.
much.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I had a traditional motocross helmet with goggles, which kind of worked. I mean, a little bit of filtration, but the problem was I would put on a gaiter, and then I put my helmet down, and it would pull the gaiter off my face. So I just sort of had to ride without it.
Well, and I think if it was 15% more moisture, then we wouldn't have as big of a dust problem. We would have had a lot more fun.
You're talking about people disappearing. You go through that dirt, and it's like you're gone.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is the layer of dust was just enough of the right contrast that it would mask stuff on the road.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you'd hit these giant rocks.
It was like it was the color of the road. The road that was
exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we said it when we were driving. If it had rained 3 days before and just was drying up, it would have been perfect conditions.
I will say one of my favorite parts of that trip, and wasn't even off-road, when we came out of Chelan and did that 25-mile drive up. Was it 25 miles? It's not really 25 miles.
Well, 25-mile apart. We stopped and got the picture, but that area.
That was a great drive coming up.
Yeah,
that was just
awesome
beautiful. Yeah. So, I can't wait to do this again.
Yeah, same.
Well, the three of us. The three of us, at least.
The three of you can do it.
Yeah.
Well, I think next year we'll probably start a little bit earlier in the season, I think.
Yes.
Probably
Less fire.
Yeah.
Probably a little closer
July.
to the snow melt because you get, like I said, then we have moisture in the road and it'd probably be a little less dusty.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because 2 weeks earlier there was still snow on the WABDR, and then 2 weeks later there was so dry they had to close the part of the WABDR. So, whatever, you can't win. But maybe second week of July next year, and we will do the whole thing, and of course it will 100%. Be more open to people. Now that we know a few things, I think
it turned into an experimental year, which I think was good.
Well, that was sort of the plan anyway.
Yeah.
Was to see how it goes the first year, see if this is miserable or a ton of fun. And good news, it's probably the most fun you can have on a motorcycle. So
even if you wreck,
Okay, let's talk about that.
Should we talk about that now?
Before we talk about that in the room.
You want to take the commercial first, or you want to? Yeah.
Yeah, let's take our next break, and we come back. We'll talk about how Branden changed his name from Fleshlight to Skidmark. We'll be right back.
Grandpa, what do you call this thing again?
It's a 66 Ford Bronco.
I think you got ripped off.
Why is that, honey?
It's got no Wi-Fi, no USB port, no Bluetooth.
Exactly. I guess we'll just have to talk.
Sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect.
Is that the window button?
It's called a window crank.
Cool. The faster I move it, the faster it goes down.
This moment of escape was created by Haggerty.
Being old is kind of cool, Grandpa.
Works for me.
For people who love cars.
And we're back. Skidmark, take it away. You want to tell us what happened?
No, hold on. It should be from our perspective.
Oh, okay.
And we haven't talked about the one hidden elephant. We started the trip where you guys had to turn around because somebody forgot their key. He was so over-prepared for everything in the entire world.
I wish somebody would have reminded him to bring an extra key. That would have been nice.
Yeah, you got in my
email
head.
a week before.
How did I get in your head?
I always leave my key in my Monkey.
Yeah.
And then you're like, send this note. It's like, make sure you bring both keys. And I'm like, both
both
keys. That's
keys.
brilliant.
Yeah.
So I got both my keys and I put them with my truck key. So in the morning when I got up, I'd grab my truck key and both my Monkey keys would be there.
Yeah.
But instead, I'm like thinking about all these other things. We get in, grab my truck key, get in, we drive all the way. I'm almost the way to breakfast.
You're not even almost. You were parked in front of the building.
No. Just before we pulled in there, we were pulling in, and somebody said something that made me think about the lock. And I'm like, did I grab the set of keys that has the lock? Did I grab the set of keys?
It has the Monkey key.
The Monkey key. Oh, crap. And I turned everybody in the car with me, and I'm like, I have this sinking feeling. We're about 3 blocks from breakfast. I have this sinking feeling that I loaded up everything but the key to my Monkey.
And Dan and I were about 20 minutes from breakfast.
I've never taken my key out of my Monkey, aside from the moment you made that note.
Just so we're clear, I'm usually grumpy in the evening when I don't have breakfast. And I didn't get breakfast that day because I had to sit in a Safeway's parking lot and wait for your lovely daughter to come.
Amazing.
Bring your key.
Alex.
So, we are at the end of the WABDR. We are on a paved road.
Yep.
We are carving up this road at probably 25 miles an hour. It's
perfect
beautiful
pavement.
20 minutes from beer and bratwurst.
We are coming around the last corner. We can see the camera guy who is about to film us.
This is literal. We're not exaggerating, even a tiny bit.
And Branden decided to go check out the ditch.
I still, people, what exactly happened? I don't know exactly what happened.
Well, that was the first car we'd seen, too. There was a car coming up. He wasn't in your lane or anything.
No, he was driving fine.
I think the combination of the car coming around the corner, I think I had been glancing at my map because I was sort of second nav, and I knew Dan was nav, and I was kind of keeping an eye on things. And there was a little bit of gravel on the road. I think it was just all those things, and I overcorrected. The Monkey slid out from underneath me, and I want to give a shout out to Moscow Moto. Yeah. I happen to be wearing my Moscow Moto pants and jersey, and if it hadn't been for that, way more damage. And the monkey slid, and I went across the pavement, and it hit the ditch, and then I just started tumbling. And I was sort of end over end over end over end, sky ground, sky ground, sky ground, sky ground, smack, and I'm done. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh, that was really dumb, and I kind of feel like that's probably just on me. And I'm sitting there kind of pondering for a minute, and I hear Ben is down, and he's not moving. I'm like,
which was true.
We had communication working at that point.
Which was Nick.
And Nick
all of a sudden the communication worked, which is good.
And I'm like, no, I'm moving. I stood up. I'm like, I'm just reflecting on how dumb I am. I'm not actually that injured. And so I stood up, and, thank goodness I was wearing my riding pants because they took the majority of the damage. And I look at them now, and I realize how much they saved me. If I hadn't had all that reinforcement in all those places, I would have been torn up a lot more than I was.
Yeah, you would have been cheddar.
Your monkey did really well too.
The monkey, it slid across all the. I put protection posts on front and rear, and the bigger oversized pedals, and all those points made contact, and they took all the damage.
Well, your pedal, I mean, it left
pedal.
like a
pedal
30 foot
off.
Aluminum trail. It was.
I will say this. And I learned this. I was way too close to you.
You almost ran me over.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that was part of it.
At that moment, you were thinking about, he didn't give me breakfast.
Exactly.
This is day two. He's still worried about it.
I mean, that's because I was aiming for you. Yeah, exactly.
I appreciate that in that moment you gave me a little bit of grace and you chose not to run me over. So
I hate to tell you, but in my mind, I'm going, okay, what do you do when the guy that actually knows all the CPR and is in rescue goes down? Like, what the hell are the rest of us supposed to do? Yeah, what's the rescue supposed to do?
Wait, he has the first aid kit.
Yeah.
And so I stood back up, and we stood the monkey back up, and we started up, and we got back on the road. And the monkey did great, and I was fine enough. And
you got a nasty bruise on your hip, but other than that, that's compared to what you could have had without the clothing you were wearing. That would have been a lot worse. Because
he got mad at all of us when we got to Bratz because he was like, "You got no pictures of me on the ground."
I was a little put out. I was like, "Wait a minute! All of you were so concerned about my safety that none of you thought to record this or tape it. Like, seriously, do you even social, bro?"
He's not wrong. I'm surprised one of us didn't be like, hold on. Get your camera first, then we'll see if he's breathing.
Well, the best part was then you look down the road, and there's our camera guy. We hired a camera guy, and I have a camera guy on site, and he's holding this amazing red camera pointing in the other direction. Looking over his shoulder going like, what's going back
waiting
there?
for us to come by.
Where are you guys? Yeah. What's going on?
100 yards away.
100 yards away. Like, totally could have had it all.
I mean, it was a pretty good corner to do that on. As far as like the ditch wasn't full of like jagged rocks.
It was fine.
Yeah.
You didn't even go into the other lane.
Yeah, you did a good job at crashing. And way to crash. Like you,
stick to your strengths.
Yep, absolutely.
Maybe the key came out.
Oh, there it is. Keymaster Monkey.
Yeah. We're going to be the gatekeeper. He can be the keymaster. Yeah, exactly.
Right. This is what it was. I mean, the entire trip was this. We would bring up something, and then the next thing you know, we would make fun of each other with it. So it was a blast.
And speaking of making fun of each other, so we had started the rally, and we were just on the dirt roads, and I was feeling pretty good. And I go around this corner, and I'm turning. Bike's not turning. Going straight. Nail the brakes, and I go off into this bush, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. Nobody saw it. And I turn around, Brian and Branden are right there going,
All right, to your benefit, we were cooking pretty good, and everything was like a big corner.
Flowing. Yeah.
And this corner wasn't just a 90-degree. It was kind of going backwards, and so
off camber, wrong direction.
And it was also really sandy kind of, right? And so you hit the brakes and the bike just kept going. And then I saw you were like, I don't know what to do. And it's just, you were slowing down, but you were slowing down off the trail. And a giant bush in the perfect spot. And you just like rolled into it. And you were like maybe 2 feet off the trail in the bush. It's just holding their bike up. You're just looking, you turn around, you're like, oh, you were right there.
Oh, you're right there.
Damn it, the GoPro's not on.
I think we all missed some corners. Like they were all good corners to miss, though.
I got
nobody
real close
missed.
many times. Yeah.
There were times that I would come around the corner, and there would be this probably quarter of a mile straight away, and all I would see is dust. Like I was chasing the road runner from and Dan would be like, you can hear him cackling, just laughing, having a great time. So it was fun.
There was one section where we went back to look for your Nick's GoPro.
Yeah.
And going down that section was way harder than going up it.
Had we went in reverse in that section, I almost went off because I came to tell you we found on video it was too far back and we should not go looking for it anymore. And it was, I thought I blew the front tire. I thought I was going over the edge. It was bad. The rocks we're definitely working in our favor going up that hill, not
yeah,
going
because when you're
down
going
it.
up, you can kind of like pull your weight back and get a little weight off the front. But going down it, man, you're just with
but
that
think
stock
about
suspension.
going up those switchbacks that we went down.
Yeah,
that would be a. By the way, I don't know who designed that. We went down into a valley. We did switchbacks into a valley. Then all of a sudden we crossed the valley, and then we went back up the valley, across the valley, and it was like, where are we going? Like, I could say you get lost up there.
Oh, it'd be easy to get lost up there. Yeah.
Well, you could get lost when you get back down to the road, and Dan says, "Oh yeah, that's a road I used to ride on, and that was a road we needed to turn at."
Yeah,
that was funny.
But when I used to ride on it, it wasn't the WABDR. It's Mad River Road, by the way, which is the way you get up to the WABDR from Ardenvor.
Now hold on. Yeah, you tell the whole story.
Yeah, so I was like, we were riding along, and we get down to the store, and I'm like, man, it's around here somewhere. And I'm like, I used to ride down here when I was a kid up at Mad River before the WABDR, and so we go up the road like 10 miles. And
it wasn't quite 10, but it was a way.
It was a long way.
I
was like, hey, look, an H3.
Yeah, got a Camaro.
Yeah.
We were having a good time. It was finally, we got to cruise where it was cooling down really, right? You got the air, and then all of a sudden we're like, we don't, is this the right way? And then
I couldn't see the screen.
Dan's like, I don't know, my screen's not lit up. And Brandon's like, we have to pass this. Let's just pull over. We pull over, and Nick's like, we brought Brian. He's just playing in the parking lot.
Oh yeah, he was. These two are trying to do the map, and I'm sitting there, and you're out there like jumping over like rock piles, and I'm like, it's like having a child. But I will say, like, we only got like misdirected like that twice. There was that time, and then we went up the hill there to meet the camera crew, and we had gone the wrong way.
Well, and we went the wrong way on accident. And I will say that was no one's fault. We said as soon as the pavement ends, we're going to stop because that was the start of the morning and put all of our dust gear on.
Yeah.
Right? Because nobody wanted to wear it until we had to. And then we stopped, and right where we stopped, you could go both ways. And since we pulled to the one side, and we just started going, and it was like we just started going the wrong way.
How much of the things
I kind of want to know what's up there now
that we were saying to each other while sitting and waiting for that road to be cleared, do you think the woman with the sign heard us say?
No,
we got stopped, and there really wasn't. They were watering the road, and then there was nobody.
We were
there probably 15 minutes.
Oh,
20.
20 minutes. I mean, and we were like one person from the flagger, and all of us were kind of making comments into the radio. I'm like, I wonder if she can hear this, and she's just not letting us go because of that.
Let's just say construction over in the Chelan area was not efficient, but it was probably paid by the hour.
Well, the worst part is the road said one-way traffic, and then when they let us go both directions.
Right.
It's like, what are we doing here?
That was the most water we'd seen on the road, though.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, I can't wait to do it again, for one. I can't wait to do the whole route. I can't wait to do Idaho, because riding some of that when I was in McCall, it's more of the same, but different views. Way more wildlife out there, so I can't wait to see more of that.
When I watched that Motor Trend Baja Monkey trip, and I was just like, man, like, who gets to do stuff like this? Like, I remember feeling envious, and then Dan, you're like, hey, we should go do this. I'm like, yes, please.
That idea went fast.
That went really fast.
Yeah. I was surprised we had as many people step up and actually get bikes.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad it was you guys, and it was a ton of fun. I can't wait to do it again, and we're going to make Brian get another bike.
Well, I mean, the first time I texted you. I was like, can I go? And you're like, if you get a bike, I guess you could be a chase vehicle. If you don't, I was like, I'll find a bike. And you're like, you'll never find a bike.
You drove
to
Idaho.
Yeah, I'm like,
yeah.
Did you use a
Idaho? Got one. Yeah. I'm going to go get it.
I think for a beta run, 4 people was good.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I feel like there was a lot of logistical stuff we were working out, communications and fuel and gear and how many spares and all that stuff. And I think if we'd have had more, it had been more cumbersome.
Yeah.
I think this felt like
especially with communications.
Felt like just the right amount to work through, and we kind of identified some stuff that we'll do differently next time, and we'll simplify in some things, and we'll change some of the preparation in other areas, and it'll be 10 times the event that it was, and it was amazing. I don't know how it would be better, but I think it will still be 10 times better.
I can't wait to run Stampede now. I'm going to go do that pretty soon.
Okay,
give me a call.
I was going to say, don't you do it without
us? No. We can fit them all in the trailer.
Yeah,
exactly. I love just down the road. You can ride up.
You can watch from the dealership.
I can watch from the dealership. Yeah.
You can be our chase truck.
We'll live stream to you.
I will start chase trucking.
We can do Stampede down to Greenwater, then up to the top of Rainier.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's an easy day ride.
Or go do Natchez.
And then we'll just take get the trailer at the top and go down.
Yeah.
I work from home now. Hopefully my boss doesn't know about this podcast. So anytime you want to go, let me know. I will just block a bunch of my calendar.
He will be meeting that day.
I'm in meetings all day.
He's having some creative time on Stampede Pass, coming up with new technology. Yeah.
I wish I had that flexibility.
Yeah. This is definitely mental health time. Like, I can't imagine.
Well, we all vote. You need that. So, more than the rest of us.
Yeah, I need it. I came back to water. I didn't know. I was going to mention that at the beginning of the show. I have water officially in my house now, and I think I have like 80 PSI out of the tap. It's pretty amazing. It's like I can spray over the top of the house out of the hose. I'm like, yes.
It's always nice when you can shower.
Yeah. So those
Congratulations, Dan.
Thank you. Yeah. That's my small victory. Coming up for Avance, of course, the big one, Avance Fest. That is Sunday, September 1st. I will be melting in Grants Pass, Oregon, and won't be there, unfortunately. But hopefully Nick will be.
I'm not sure in what capacity. Actually, Chrissy just messaged me about that, so that's funny.
Hi, Chrissy.
I think we may be there for a little bit. So I don't know. I don't want to overpromise. So.
Yeah, I wish I was in town for that because I am unfortunately not going to be. The next one coming up on the 5th will be Camp Good Times Drive-a-thon. This is a fundraiser for a 501c3 nonprofit, and they help children, siblings, and families in Washington and Alaska dealing with pediatric cancer. So that's a very good cause you should be involved in. So that is going to be down at Shelton at the Ridge. So you can check that out, avance.com, and then check out events and sign up.
Yeah.
Tell them we sent you.
August 14th, Avance Off-Road.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I will be at that, hopefully.
Next one.
There's a lot going on August 14th. My parents will be in town, so I'll have a lot of stuff going on. But I will
bring them out. We'll send them around the track.
It's a long commute from your house.
I know.
Now, so.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's very difficult.
Trip and fall onto the track.
So, yeah, exactly. I can see it.
I'm hoping that I can have the truck done for the September Avance Off-Road because I made a splash the first one that opened up, and we should have the new truck up and ready by then.
Nice. That'll be good.
Yeah. Well, I had a really good talk with the Rimmers at the Dirtfish Day. And they love the Avance stuff.
I can't tell. If you don't, you
can't see me.
Dan is decked out in Dirtfish gear. Right?
Yeah, they can see you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We do have a camera here tonight. But yeah, I'm wearing the Dirtfish head to toe.
Yeah.
So,
and
thanks,
we're
Josie.
talking about a ladies-only event that Josie's going to help out with,
yes.
and Sammy Dallas is going to help out with, and Chrissy Wells is going to help with. My daughter, who drove the Monkey Keys up, is going to help out with. So we're super excited about a Ladies' Day. Probably September. We're looking at September as either September or October.
It's going to be a Dirtfish Day? Or
we had Dirtfish. It'll be an Avance Off-Road Day, but it'll be ladies only.
Yeah.
We'll have the normal crew kind of manning stuff, but attendees will be ladies only.
Is that you're going to have men out there manning? Jeez.
Men manning. Men will manning.
Yeah, okay.
And then the ladies will be having fun.
Fair enough.
Yes.
That's
awesome. All right.
Thanks, guys, for coming.
Yeah.
We had a ball.
Thanks.
I mean, I'm glad we're safe and everybody's,
Still got some dirt in my teeth, but, it's worth it.
Those are bugs.
Under the nails.
There was a lot of bugs in my teeth.
Yeah.
So that's sadly true. That happened.
Well, my wife, I think, summed it up best when she said, out having fun with people who are fun. And I totally
so you didn't tell her who you were with. I get it. Okay. Fair enough. For this episode of Rain City Supercars, I'm Nick.
I'm Dan, and don't just get there. Enjoy the drive.